All right, Bears fans, let's talk about something that's been heating up the rumor mill, and it could get really interesting for Chicago. Word around the league is that Breece Hall might be looking for a fresh start, and after the New York Jets dropped their fifth straight game, the frustration is clearly boiling over. Hall spoke to reporters this week and didn't hold back. When asked about his mindset, he said he's not worried about having fun right now. He's focused on winning football games, on proving who he can be in this league before his time runs out. You could hear the frustration in his voice. This is a guy who's giving everything on the field while his team continues to sink, and that's a tough spot to be in when you're one of the few bright spots on a struggling roster. Now, here's where things start to get interesting for Chicago. Breece Hall is in a contract year, and the Jets, sitting at 0 wins and 5 losses, don't look anywhere close to competing this season. From their perspective, trading Hall actually makes sense. He's been electric this year, averaging over 5 yards per carry and showing flashes of his early career explosiveness. But if you're New York, do you really invest in a running back with some mileage, even if he's only 24 years old, when you're clearly in rebuild mode? Probably not. That's why trade talk makes sense. They could get a decent draft pick in return, save some money, and move forward with a younger core once Braylon Allen gets healthy. And for the Bears, who have been struggling to find rhythm in the run game despite some strong offensive performances overall, this is where the opportunity lies. Chicago's run attack just hasn't clicked. DeAndre Swift, who was brought in to give that extra burst of speed and versatility, hasn't found his groove yet. Through 4 games, he's averaging barely over 3 yards per carry, and the running backs as a whole are stuck under that 3.5 mark. For a team that's supposed to pride itself on physicality and balance, that's a serious issue. Even with Caleb Williams showing flashes and extending plays with his legs, the Bears simply aren't scaring anyone on the ground. That's where Breece Hall could completely change the dynamic. He's not just a straight-line runner. He brings power between the tackles, elusiveness in space, and legitimate threat as a receiving back. Over the last 2 seasons, even in some of the worst offensive situations with the Jets, he still managed to average over 500 receiving yards a year. This season, in just 5 games, he already has 17 catches, and that's with one of the league's most inconsistent offenses. Imagine plugging that kind of production into a system run by Ben Johnson, who's known for getting creative and maximizing his skill players. You give Johnson a versatile back like Hall, and suddenly, this Bears offense looks a lot more complete. But of course, everything comes down to cost. The Jets would likely want something around a 4th or 5th round pick. They might push for a day 2 selection, but let's be real, no one's giving up a 3rd rounder for a running back on an expiring deal. A 5th round pick, maybe packaged with a future 7th to sweeten the pot, feels fair. If you're the Jets, you get value for a player you're unlikely to pay next year. If you're the Bears, you get a high-impact player who can immediately elevate your offense without mortgaging the future. That's smart business for both sides. Now, if you're Ryan Poles sitting in that GM chair, you have to be thinking about this carefully. If the Bears come out of the bye week and still can't find consistency against a middle-of-the-pack Washington defense, it's time to make some calls. You can't just hope things magically get better. At some point, something has to change, and adjusting your personnel might be the simplest way to spark improvement. You can tweak the blocking scheme, you can shuffle linemen, but the reality is running backs make a difference when they can create on their own, and Breece Hall is one of those guys. The numbers don't lie. Hall is on pace for over 1,200 rushing yards and 500 receiving yards this season, production that would easily place him among the top 8 or 10 backs in the league. And that's on a losing team with no offensive rhythm. Just picture what he could do behind a line that's been solid in pass protection, but hasn't yet been able to fully unleash its run-blocking potential. With Fields or Williams, depending on the long-term direction, commanding attention from defenses, Hall could thrive in Chicago's offense, giving them the balance they've desperately needed. And let's not forget the emotional boost a move like this can bring. When a front office makes a mid-season trade for a player like Hall, it sends a message to the locker room that they're serious about winning now. It shows faith in the coaching staff, in the system, and in the players already there. Sometimes that spark alone can reignite a team's confidence and shift the momentum for the rest of the season. Ben Johnson has already said he's not putting the Bears' rushing struggles entirely on Swift, and that's fair. The blocking hasn't been great, and some of the play designs haven't hit as expected. But at the same time, results matter. If the ground game doesn't start producing at a higher level soon, it's hard to justify staying the course. You can't afford to waste strong quarterback play and improve defensive rhythm by being predictable on first and second downs. A player like Breece Hall could give Johnson the flexibility to open up the playbook even more. More screen action, more misdirection, more ways to keep defenses guessing. So, what would it really take to make this happen? Let's say Chicago offers a 5th-round pick, maybe a conditional future selection depending on performance or snap count. The Jets might ask for a 4th, but if Poles plays it smart, he could hold firm and still land his guy. It's not a blockbuster move that breaks the bank, but it's one that makes a statement, a sign that Chicago is ready to compete and not just build. The Bears have shown flashes of being a playoff-caliber team, but the missing ingredient has been that consistent run threat to complement the passing game. If the Bears really want to show that this season means something, they have to be proactive. The bye week was supposed to be a reset button, a moment to fix the issues that have been dragging the run game down. But if things still look the same coming out of it, then it's not just about patience anymore. It's about making real adjustments. Ben Johnson is one of the smartest defensive minds in football. He knows how to design creative schemes, how to find mismatches, how to put his players in position to succeed. But even the best play callers need the right tools, and right now, the Bears don't have a back who can take over a game when needed. That's why Breece Hall makes so much sense. Think about it. Chicago's offense has shown real flashes this season. Caleb Williams is starting to look comfortable, reading defenses better, getting the ball out on time, using his legs when he needs to. The passing game has taken strides, but the lack of balance is keeping the entire unit from reaching its full potential. Defenses know they can sit back, focus on stopping the pass, and not worry too much about getting gashed on the ground. Breece Hall could immediately fix that. His acceleration through the hole, the way he reads blocks and breaks tackles, his ability to make a linebacker miss in space. It's exactly what Chicago needs. He's powerful enough to grind out the tough yards and dynamic enough to take it to the house if he finds daylight. And maybe the most underrated part of his game is his patience. He doesn't panic when the first lane isn't there. He waits for the right moment, then bursts through. In a system like Ben Johnson's, with zone runs and play action built into the design, that kind of vision can turn a modest gain into a game-changing play. If the Bears could get Hall without giving up too much draft capital, the move almost feels like a no-brainer. Chicago still has enough picks in upcoming drafts to continue building the roster. They've spent years trying to find the right combination at running back, from Montgomery to Herbert to Swift, and while all have had their moments, none have provided that every-down dominance. Hall has that potential. He's shown he can handle a heavy workload without losing efficiency, and his receiving skills would give Johnson another reliable option on 3rd down. Imagine Hall catching passes out of the backfield, lining up in motion, creating mismatches against slower linebackers. It would open up everything else for the Bears offense. Of course, it's not just about talent. It's about timing. The trade deadline is coming, and the Jets are in a spot where they need to make decisions quickly. They can't afford to hold on to players they don't plan to extend, especially when the team is spiraling. For Chicago, that's the perfect window to strike. If the Bears wait too long and Hall continues to dominate, his price could rise. Other teams in playoff contention could start calling. But if Ryan Poles moves early, he could take advantage of the Jets' desperation and secure a deal that works for both sides. Even if Hall only stays for the rest of the season, his impact could be enormous. A strong running back can stabilize an entire offense. It keeps the defense off the field longer, gives your quarterback confidence, and helps close out games that the Bears have too often let slip away. Chicago has lost too many winnable matchups over the past few years because they couldn't finish drives or control the clock. That's what a guy like Hall brings, that reliability, that edge when the game is on the line. And beyond the on-field impact, there's a cultural side to this too. Every team talks about accountability and competition, but making a move like this proves it. It tells the players that the front office believes in them enough to invest. It tells the locker room that mediocrity isn't acceptable anymore. When your GM goes out and makes a statement move, it lifts everyone's energy. Players feed off that kind of message. It says, "We're not waiting until next year. We're trying to win right now." That mentality can change everything. There's also something to be said about giving Caleb Williams, or whoever ends up being the long-term quarterback, a reliable safety valve. Rookie quarterbacks benefit immensely from strong run games. It takes pressure off them, simplifies defensive reads, and creates manageable third downs. Having Hall in the backfield gives you that balance. It gives you a threat that forces defenses to stay honest and makes play action deadly. The Bears' offensive line has been improving in pass protection, but they need a back who can make their blocking look better in the run game. Breece Hall has the vision and burst to do exactly that. When you step back and look at the bigger picture, it's clear the Bears are on the verge of turning a corner. The defense has started to find its identity again, and the offense, for all its ups and downs, is showing real promise. But in the modern NFL, you can't afford to be one-dimensional. If you want to compete deep into the season, you need a ground game that can win games when the weather turns cold and the air gets heavy. That's what separates playoff teams from pretenders. If the Bears go into Washington and the run game still looks lifeless, it's time for Ryan Poles to get aggressive. Waiting only leads to missed opportunities. Sometimes, the best move a front office can make is the one that shows belief in the roster, in the staff, in the season's potential. The Bears don't need a complete overhaul. They need one spark, one playmaker who can tilt the field and change how opponents prepare for them. Breece Hall might just be that spark. And if Poles and Johnson truly believe this team can compete, then this is the moment to prove it. Chicago can't afford to play it safe anymore. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Chicago is buzzing with speculation after a shocking announcement that has sent the NFL world into a frenzy. SAQUON Barkley has reportedly been announced by the Bears. The news, though still swirling in the realm of rumor and insider whispers, has fans and analysts alike imagining what a seismic shakeup in Chicago's backfield could mean for the team's offensive future. Barkley, one of the most dynamic and explosive running backs of his generation, is known for his rare combination of speed, vision, and brute strength. If he really is heading to the Windy City, the Bears' ground game could transform overnight from middling to elite. The chatter around Halas Hall is intense, with insiders suggesting that the front office has been quietly plotting to reinvent the offense, and Barkley might just be the missing piece. Social media is already ablaze. Clips of Barkley weaving through defenders, combined with the hashtag Barkley in Chicago, are trending as fans speculate on how his style meshes with the Bears' current roster. Questions abound. Will the team build a scheme around his unique skill set? How will this affect Justin Fields' development? Could this move signal a bigger shift in Chicago's aggressive push to contend in a notoriously competitive NFC North? Of course, nothing is official beyond the initial whispers, and sources caution that negotiations are notoriously fluid. Yet, even the hint of Barkley suiting up in navy and orange has reignited a sense of hope and a fair dose of disbelief among fans who have yearned for a true game-changer. Analysts are already comparing this potential acquisition to historic running back shifts that shook franchises to their core, and the parallels are tantalizing. Even if it's just a rumor, the very idea of Barkley in Chicago sparks visions of highlight reels, explosive third-down plays, and a backfield capable of turning the tide in any game. For now, the city waits, hungry for confirmation, while the NFL rumor mill churns like never before. One thing is clear. If this move happens, the Bears could be on the verge of redefining their identity, and the league will be watching closely. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.